I mean, you're absolutely right, Evelyn. People don't want to hear it, but those who are not using AI will fall behind. There is just no two ways about it.
Hey, Evelyn here. I just quickly wanted to hop on to encourage you to sign up to my newsletter. When you do that, you'll not only be informed as soon as a new episode drops, but you also get access to my exclusive Growth goodie bag. That is a collection of highly valuable resources provided by our guests and myself, tools, strategies, case studies, templates, and so much more that will help you to grow and monetize that growth journey. If that sounds fair, then click the link and make sure to sign up to my newsletter. Hi, David. Thank you so much for taking the time today for the conversation. We have met during the school games actually we have met before because I knew you from your YouTube channel. And then
That's
when
right.
I realized while I was playing the school games, I was watching one of your videos because I basically, they got fed to me every single day on my feed. So I checked out your video and you were mentioning your community, clicked on it. Sure enough, it was school. I joined before I really knew, what I'm getting myself into. And then in the following month, I saw you climbing up the leaderboard in the games. And so we kind of connected through that. You also joined my community. And one of the first things you did was taking the ChatGPT prompts that I have created for my members based on how I'm using it. And you completely reworked my whole prompt collection. Can you let me know what I did wrong and what probably most ChatGPT and other AI users are doing wrong and why they're not getting the ideal result?
I mean, to be honest, your prompts were already definitely above average. It's not like they were bad or anything. I just saw a few areas of improvement. So, for example, including examples. Like every single time you want high quality response, you have to give ChatGPT 5 solid examples, ideally more, ideally 10, of how the output should look like, right? Another thing is giving it a role. So for example, if it's an expert copywriter, you describe the kind of skills a copywriter would have, and then it kind of role-playing as that expert, right? So just these little hacks stack up over time. And there's so many of these, and it's called prompt engineering.
That's so cool. One of the hacks that I actually keep doing since you refined the prompt is that I tell ChatGPT that he should act like Dan Kennedy, who is like a really, really famous direct response copywriter. So definitely stole it, and it significantly improved my output. And the cool thing is now, a back and forth that would have taken 10 times is done in 2 times. So definitely a huge time saver. What other tools do you think a community builder like me, a digital entrepreneur, should be using that I'm probably not aware of or not thinking about?
Yeah, so I'm going to mention 2. So definitely Perplexity. This is basically Google 2.0. It's the AI tool that does web search. So think of ChatGPT, but with superpower web search capabilities. Like you type in any prompt and it checks up to 25 different websites, and in 5 seconds, it gives you the answer summary of those websites. So that's super good, whether you're doing research, market research on your audience, or whether you want to get ideas for what kind of ads are currently popular. And then the second tool I wanted to mention is MidJourney, which is obviously for AI images. Now, this could be used in many ways, right? Obviously, you can create your logo, but you can also create image ads. You can also create banners for your websites, or just cool backgrounds, literally anything, or backgrounds for your courses, modules. I mean, the sky's the limit.
That's so cool. I actually started using Perplexity very, very recently, but it's a little bit of a learning curve because also here you have to, it's not like a ChatGPT, right? So,
yeah.
And I think when I'm observing what you do with your community, there's so many levels to it. Can you explain, because now we're kind of scratching the surface of, maybe how the beginner digital entrepreneur can get the most out of these tools, but you are actually taking it significantly further in your community. So what are other people doing with AI to, build or monetize their personal growth journey and build their income?
Yeah, so I mean, people are doing countless things. Like, for example, one of the main things is AI agents, which is building, basically, you take the large language model, which is something like GPT-4, that's powering ChatGPT, and you give it the ability to do things. And you can obviously automate a lot of stuff with that. Maybe, respond to some basic emails or take a recording of a podcast and automatically upload it to school. Stuff like that saves 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, adds up over time. But I would say even with the basic tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, MidJourney, a lot of people are still underutilizing them. Like, I see so many people go to Google when they should in fact go to ChatGPT. And what I tell new people is that just set your homepage in Chrome or whatever browser you're using to ChatGPT. That way you build the habit of using these AI tools, because for a lot of people, they're still stuck in the past and they try it once, it's cool, but never really make it part of their workflow.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very true. And I think that there's a big need in people who can kind of translate that, because I feel that this is where a lot of efficiency is lost and where I see there's kind of a gap emerging. So I've been using ChatGPT basically since it was out, because a huge part of my job is writing. But I can see how the people that are not using it, they just, from a productivity perspective, right? It's rough, but they're really falling behind and keep receiving questions for how you can create faster than we can consume. How is it possible? And it's just because you can kind of supercharge your efforts. And I still feel like a very, very beginner. But then when I'm seeing how other people are still creating everything from scratch, it kind of is scary to see, how the gap will continue to increase. So I think that there's a big potential need for people that can translate. Do you see this as well in your community, or are the people that you mainly work with already far ahead on the journey?
No, I mean, in my community, it's all across the place. Like, people are beginners, some people have PhDs. It's, it's not just, experts. So, I mean, you're absolutely right, Evelyn. People don't want to hear it, but those who are not using AI will fall behind. There's just no two ways about it. It's if somebody isn't using the internet today, they're super behind. Now, that's obvious because the internet has been around for 30 plus years or whatever, right? But AI is relatively new. So you have to think in the future, like, okay, it's good now. Where will it be in 5 years? So you better start using it now. If you see like, okay, it's going only to improve, think about the community owners who are not using it. If you are like, if you want to build digital offers and you are not using AI, like, you will work slower, you will have less ideas, you will not consider things that you could otherwise consider. Like, sometimes you get stuck, people get often stuck on the blank page problem when writing anything. Now, obviously, you have great templates in your community, so that's a huge help. But let's say you want to create something even beyond that, right? Well, you can use ChatGPT to help you get unstuck. You say, I want to write a copy for Facebook ads. This is the angle I'm going with. This is what the creative looks like. I'm stuck. I don't know what the headline should be. And it gives you 20 ideas, right? And you refine it, you work with it, and it just like speeds up your productivity so much. It cannot even compare to people who aren't using AI.
That's true. It's almost like, two different timelines that people are running on. Talking about timelines, before, we kind of explore further, I want to help people to understand why it's, from my perspective, extremely worth listening to you. So when, I saw your community, I've already been a fan because I received so much value from your YouTube channel. And I didn't realize until we talked how new your channel was, right? So you've built it basically from scratch in a year to over 80,000 followers. You're cranking out videos also like crazy. So there's, how many videos do you currently have on your channel?
I don't know, like 120.
120, right? So that's a life's work of some other YouTubers, and you have done it in under a year. And this is not even your first YouTube channel or your first business venture as a 22-year-old. So you've been successful before. Maybe for the person listening, you could quickly dive into what have you been doing before? Why have you decided to drop it all, focus fully on AI? And what allowed you to basically grow again so quickly in this completely different niche?
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, people might be looking at me like, oh my God, overnight success, whatever. But I've been doing this since 15, basically. My first project was a video game, programming a mobile game from scratch. And that got 1,000 downloads, but made $0. So my first real business that made money was growing people's Instagram pages. And I started that at 16. So that's at least 6 years of business experience. So I have quite a bit of experience under my belt, even though I'm young. But you're right. Before this, I was doing actually gaming videos, specifically Minecraft. And that channel had like 460K. And it was making really good money. And I was averaging like 2.2 million views a video on long form.
Wow.
So, most YouTubers quit when their channel is dead. My channel was growing faster than ever, like 50K subscribers per month. And I stopped uploading. And that's simply because I saw the opportunity of AI and I just knew I wanted to be in the field. And the reason why I was able to grow so fast, I was monetized within 14 days, and within 30 days, I reached 10,000 subscribers. So yeah, I was able to take those skills and just, go crazy. I mean, I realized I was in a new field So instead of having some ego, I realized, okay, this is completely different. In my Minecraft channel, I didn't use my face, so I was on camera for the first time. Instead of, going with upload every 14 days, which is what I was doing on the Minecraft channel, I went with upload every day. So a lot of new YouTubers and content creators, they don't upload nearly enough. And that is simply a huge mistake because they look at like Mr. Beast or somebody and say like, okay, he uploads, once a month. But when you look at him when he was small, he was pumping out content like every other day. So I think people, when they want to start in this, content creation, community building, they just need to humble themselves and put in way more reps than they realize.
Oh my God, that was so much goodness. I don't even know where to poke in first, but I think it has to be the transferable skills, because I think that that's something people don't realize when they have, a desktop full of projects and they feel like I've started so many things. I have a graveyard of projects and nothing ever equated to something, that they actually were just putting in reps and they build up transferable skills. I would love to talk about that. And I would love to talk about how you can use transferable skills and kind of supercharge them with AI. What are your thoughts on that?
It's actually a great point because as you were saying it, I was kind of reflecting on all the different businesses I did, and I couldn't think of one that isn't useful now. So I'll give you an example. Building the video game when I was 15, 16, I learned programming. Back then there was no ChatGPT, so I had to, use websites and search it up online, watch YouTube tutorials, and I learned the basics of programming there. Now I program AI agents, so that's useful. Then I did Instagram marketing when I learned, basics of copywriting, basics of DMing people and selling them, also editing videos. That's super useful now. Then I transitioned that into editing video creatives for e-commerce stores and dropshippers. So, everybody was trying dropshipping, and I was like, let's do the shovel strategy and edit the creatives for them. Well, that's useful now because now I'm, trying to step up my Facebook ads and I have experience from that. So like everything is building on top of each other. And I think, obviously it's not guaranteed. Sometimes people complete a switch, and I think that's a mistake. You should definitely build upon your skill set. And, if you see a pivot like I did, you should only do it when it's like really the market is shrinking. So obviously Alex Hormozi talks about this in the book. It's one of the first pages. You have to be in a growing market, right? I was in a Minecraft market, which, let's be honest, the game has been popular for quite a while. And I was thinking like 5 years from now, it's probably going to be less popular than now. Well, AI, obviously it's going to be more popular. So it was like kind of market decision. But other than that, you should absolutely build upon your skills. And like people, as you said, people jump way too quickly, right? They start a community, it doesn't work for 2 months, they trash it. My community didn't make a single dollar for like month and a half. Like definitely the first 14 days, it was like completely dead. So, a lot of people give up in the school games after the 14-day trial. Huge mistake. I wasn't making anything after 14 days. Like if I gave up, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. I think it must have been in early because I joined, I think, when it was $29 a month. So I don't know what stage that was in. But actually, when I joined, I couldn't believe that it wasn't bigger because in my eye, you were a superstar level YouTuber at that point already. So I love that you were willing to share this because I really think a lot of people walk away from opportunities so quickly. And let's not forget, you already at this point had built up a brand, right? You had built up knowledge, skills to put in there as content, and still things were growing slowly for you. So I think that's a really good lesson for everyone to take away. When would you say it's worth sticking with an opportunity, and when would you switch? What are your indicators for decisions like that?
I would say when the fundamental beliefs that led you to starting the opportunity change, right? So if you see some if you make a decision based on a few factors, and then, you few months later down the line, you realize it's much harder, but those fundamental factors hasn't changed, you should not switch because the opportunity is still there. But if you were wrong, like if you were incorrect about, let's say there is gold in the desert, and then you search through the entire desert and there is no gold, like you were incorrect about the fundamental assumptions, then yeah, you have to switch. But in most cases, I would say people switch way too quickly. They just get bored.
Yeah, I think that's a big component. I also think a big component might be that people don't or have a hard time accepting that it actually is this hard. Like you described, there are so many reps and there are so many setbacks. Maybe could you share some of the biggest setbacks you have faced and where you still didn't give up or bounced back?
Yeah, I mean, my Minecraft channel was basically dead for 2 years. And I was, treating it as a full-time job. Like I was uploading consistently and doing my best video after video, and it was just flop after flop after failure. So like, it's not overnight. You just have to realize that you have to be better with every single rep, right? So as long as you're improving, like nobody goes to the gym and is, has muscles the next day. You have to stick it for many years to see results. And business is the same way. If you have a community and, it's not growing, there's a reason why it's not growing. And you shouldn't take it personally. It's like, identify it and try it. Try something else, right? Either you are not getting enough traffic, or the churn is too bad and people are leaving too much, or your offer is bad and conversion is bad. So like, it's one of those things. I think it's either traffic, conversion rate, pricing, or churn. One of those is the issue, and you have to figure out which it is and just test it out. And don't take it personally. It's just business. Like, improve your skills and stick with it.
I love this. I think as a content creator, you have had early the perspective of seeing it as in putting in reps. And I'm just realizing as we're talking that a lot of business owners who have a genuine expertise, for example, in a coaching field or something, they have put in the reps there, but they never put in the reps on the marketing. So they're basically coming as advanced in one field, in another field as a complete beginner. And so I think that what you said, you have to humble yourself because it is such a humbling experience. And I see that with myself, for example, with the YouTube game. An excellent, I would say, direct response copywriter, email marketer. Facebook ads have been very, very good to me since they exist. But YouTube, I've been doing something for the last 3 years, but not nearly there where you are. And it's just, I think whenever you're trying a new field, just have to be complete beginner again, and you have to humble yourself and know, okay, I put in, I don't know how many hundreds, tens, thousands of hours in Facebook ads. Well, I will also have to put in the reps into YouTube if I want to get to that point. So
yeah, I'm the exact opposite. Like, I would say I'm pretty good at YouTube, but my Facebook ads are not really profitable. But I'm not like blaming Mark Zuckerberg, like, oh my God, give me profits, lower my CPMs. It's like, I know I haven't tested enough creatives. I haven't tested enough headlines, enough copies, like enough ad sets, audiences, lookalikes. It's just like, it's my fault, right? I need to put in more reps and just create more creatives to get good. Like, if it was profitable from month one, that would be kind of disappointing. Like, that would be too easy. It's like, come on.
You have a really good mindset that is very resilient, and I think it's good for the years that will come. I personally was super anxious last year around AI, like to a point where I actually, started to talk about certain YouTubers that had certain initiatives, etc., where I was like really convinced, okay, this is serious and we need to do something now. So it was like camp anxiety. Then as I was becoming more of a user and I also saw the limitations, I was camp, maybe is not the end of the world. And I'm kind of lost because there's now, after the big kind of fear bubble, I feel like there's now people downplaying it completely to a point of where they're like, oh yeah, it's just a bubble. It's just hype. It's basically just tech companies trying to inflate their evaluations. Where do you stand on that spectrum? What do you believe?
Well, I would say it's probably short-term overhyped, but long-term underhyped, meaning people like who look at it right now come into the field and just expect ChatGPT to solve all of their problems, right? Or same with AI agents. They just expect to build one AI agent and like, why isn't half of my day automated? It's like, obviously that's not how it works. But in terms of where people think it's going to be 2-3 years down the line, I think most are massively underestimating where it's going to be. Like, it's going to be much better than people realize.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think the biggest improvements will kind of happen? Or where do you see right now the biggest bottlenecks that can be predictably solved? Because from what I'm understanding with training and output, that there are certain variables where we don't know how to improve things, but there might be things that we already have a plan. It's just a matter of integrating things.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. So for example, you have to realize that every single AI model that exists today has been trained on hardware that's at least 1 to 2 years old. So even if we use the latest hardware from NVIDIA, we would get much better models. So simple thing that could be better is speed. When OpenAI released the latest update, GPT-4o, it was like significantly faster. I think over 2 to 3 times faster than the previous version. And just by that, it's like much better to use. Like, not even more intelligent. I mean, it is a bit more intelligent, but not that much. Just the speed is huge, right? Then you have the context window, meaning how much you can put into one prompt. So you can, if you can fit one book, well, now there is like Google Gemini has like 2 million context window. So you can fit like 20 books or 30 books, right? Which is huge. Or like a 2-hour movie, and you can just ask, find me every section where the character is walking, and it's just going to say that. It's insane, right? So those are going to be small improvements. But as you said, the most interesting ones are what's called emerging capabilities, where we don't know what it's going to learn the next, right? So that's like basically increasing the number of parameters. You can think about it increasing the number of neurons in the brain. So you have a mouse, a cat, a dolphin, a human. Like each time they can do more and more, but you don't know exactly what it's going to be until you get there.
That's super, super interesting. I have 2 questions. One practical one that maybe you can answer me, and because I feel like I'm going crazy because I'm using ChatGPT on a day-to-day basis, and 4.0, I agree that it's faster, but I feel like it's not as coachable. So I do believe like it ignores my feedback a lot more than the previous one, but I'm not sure if I'm right, but I believe it. And the other one is that I believe that ChatGPT has days. So I feel, although always using the same model, on some days I can get a lot better because I'm also producing a lot of content, right? So we also have PLR memberships, etc. And I'm every single month at least producing 50 higher content-heavy digital products, right? That are all carefully researched. And obviously, ChatGPT helps me a lot. And so on some days, I can get significantly more work done, a lot higher quality, where I don't need to interject or, rewrite and pre-write as much. And on some days, it's just flying. So, or it's just, not a single help. Is that my personal impression, or does it actually vary from its performance and output?
I mean, a lot of people have this observation, so you're definitely not alone there. I think it's because people criticize OpenAI for lobotomizing their models, meaning they add restrictions and what it cannot do, and they basically constantly improve the RLHF, meaning reinforcement learning from human feedback, which is just restricting the model more and more, trying to make it. It's not only negative. They're trying to make it more usable to humans, but in the process, they limit the model's capabilities. So, for example, if you have when the model finishes training and it's completely untuned, it's basically unusable. It doesn't give you text that you can use, right? It gives you text, but it's not sentences. It's not conversational. So, but what's interesting is that probabilities, it's almost perfect. So it can almost perfectly guess what's the likelihood of something happening. But when you do the RLHF process, it becomes conversational. You can talk to it. It's much more useful, but the probabilities become basically the same as humans, right? So humans are bad at giving chances, likelihoods or something. It becomes just as bad as the humans. So that's kind of fascinating. And I mean, you're definitely not alone. A lot of people observe that it's changing.
Okay, but there's no reason or explanation by OpenAI or tips. Is when it does that, leave it alone for 4 hours.
No, I don't think there's any trick like that.
Okay, thanks for validating my feelings about it, because some days I'm I don't know how I ever lived without it, and the other days I'm okay, I'm gonna throw my laptop out the window now.
I think the solution is to add Claude 3 and Gemini Ultra into your arsenal. So Gemini by Google has a 60-day free trial, so that's a no-brainer. Everybody can try it for 60 days. It's called Gemini Advanced, and then Claude, you can use it actually inside of Perplexity. So that's why Perplexity is so amazing. You can use GPT-4o, you can use Gemini and Claude. So inside of the settings, if you have the paid version of Perplexity, you can choose any of the LLMs and you can test it out. So if you see GPT-4o isn't following your instructions, just go with Claude 3, which I actually recommend more for creative writing, which is a lot of what digital offer builders do. It's creative writing. Yeah. So I would probably more recommend Claude 3 as the language model to go with.
Okay, I definitely need to check this out. I didn't also know that they are kind of inside of Perplexity, so I'm learning so much about that. One question I would love to ask you is, we also do a lot of offer theme creation, right? So we brand all our offers and challenges and events in kind of a storyline visual theme. And for that, my business partner, she's a professional designer. She uses MidJourney, and I am not so familiar with MidJourney, so I just sometimes use ChatGPT. What would you recommend to somebody starting out? What's the better tool? Why? How can people understand what the difference is?
So specifically for images?
Specifically for images, and for kind of when we think of offer themes, right? The challenge is that we need not one great image, but we need images that kind of go well together, so they feel like one cohesive kind of visual theme.
So the issue with using DALL-E 3, which is the image model inside of ChatGPT, is that you actually don't have nearly as much control as you have in MidJourney. So what people don't realize is that they write a prompt but then ChatGPT rewrites the prompt and gives it to the DALL-E 3 tool. So it's not actually what you write, it's ChatGPT takes that and rewrites it based on OpenAI's guidelines, and that it's like you don't have nearly as much control as you have in MidJourney. In MidJourney, you can create styles, custom styles, and this is a feature that most people don't utilize, but it's super powerful. So when you let's say you create 50 images and you like one, you can save that style and apply that same style to more images. That way it has the same aesthetic.
Oh, that's super helpful. That is really, really helpful. I didn't know that you can, it's kind of like a template then for the styles of the image.
Yeah.
And does it need to be like a distinctive style that people know, like Art Deco, or is it just the style of that specific image?
Yeah, it generates like a unique number, so it's style of that image. So it takes like everything into consideration, like the lighting, the colors, and just everything. And even if you change from an image of a dog to a digital drawing of a wall, like something completely unrelated, it will keep that same aesthetic and the same vibe, the same colors and stuff like that.
Okay, that's cool. I need to try it myself. Before we go too much into tutorials and you solving my everyday problems with AI, there is another observation that I would love to discuss with you, and I would want to see kind of how much you dare to forecast into the future. I personally also feel that YouTube is changing with how the algorithm recommends videos, and in general, I find YouTube and social media less valuable, and kind of, I feel like something changed about it, and the recommendations that you get, kind of, they're more one-sided. You don't get kind of the interested content recommended anymore. Same happens on social media, and I see that views are down probably because of that. Less people are kind of active on certain platforms. Do you have any guess on what's happening there? And is it influenced by AI? And how do you think AI will influence those platforms further over the next years to come? What should creators, digital entrepreneurs prepare for?
I mean, I have the same experience. I don't know why, but like I'm on YouTube. I mean, I think on phone it's a bit better.
Agreed.
I don't know. Like when I'm on PC and I refresh the YouTube page, like 90% of the videos stay the same. I'm like, why did I refresh? Like, come on, YouTube, you can figure this out. I don't want the same recommendations. Like, give me new stuff. So one theory is that they want to push people to shorts. So this is more like, going to the conspiracy. It's just they just want people get addicted to shorts. And I mean, I don't think that's too unrealistic because, shorts are just, they turn off your brain and you just scroll. So, I mean, that could be one thing, but I don't know. It's definitely very weird, and I have the same observation.
Interesting. I think with shorts, though, how would they monetize it? Because you can't place like too many ads in there. So, but it could be about market share probably as well. So it could just be, a short-term game for the long-term game.
Yeah, I think they see it in terms of users. Like whoever ends up with the users wins, right? So they don't even care like the short-term money, because if TikTok captures everything, they win. If Instagram Reels captures everything, they win. So I think right now it's kind of the battle of the platforms. I mean, like the creation of TikTok kind of revitalized the social media platforms. Like everybody wants to dominate the social short form content. So I think they just want to, whoever becomes the YouTube of short form will win, and then they figure out the monetization.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Do you have a short-form strategy? Is it something that you incorporate, or as a very successful community builder, you're in the tens of thousands a month from your community? Is it something you incorporate in your strategy, or are you just playing long form and that's it?
I mean, I dabbled in it. I definitely posted some, but not really. Like, I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozzi's one product, one avatar, one channel. So just like keep it simple, keep the business as simple as possible, master one way of acquiring clients. And like, look, if people are below 100K a year, if they're not making, 6 figures a year, which means roughly 8,300, let's say 10K a month for simplicity, right? If they're not making 10K a month, they shouldn't even worry about, free acquisition channels or different this. Just choose one and stick with it. Whether it's Facebook ads, whether it's YouTube, whether it's cold outreach, doesn't really matter. All of them have made multi-millionaires, right? So just pick one and master it and stick with it until you figure it out. It's kind of the same as switching business models. Like if everybody's switching acquisition models all the time, they're never going to master anything.
Yeah, totally agreed. You're so young. These insights are something that you have to earn kind of so hard for yourself. Is it something that you just acquired by observation, or was it through the 7 years that you've gone through it where you definitely came to that realization?
I mean, yeah, like most things you learn by doing them. So like that's, I think, one of the main issues in my community is that a lot of people just watch, right? You probably have the same issue with you. It's like they don't take nearly enough action. So what I encourage everybody to do is like when they watch one of my tutorials, replicate what I did. Don't even change anything. Replicate what I did because that's already way better than the average viewer, and then change it. So it's just taking action and reflecting. The hard part is thinking. I think Thomas Edison had this quote. It's like, men will do anything to avoid the real labor of thinking. Something like that. And it's just like, people would much rather work for 40 years at McDonald's than to spend 1 hour thinking, how do I change my life? How do I change my career? Like that's infinitely harder than, putting in the manual labor. And people like blame, like I work hard, but you sometimes have to think hard as well, right? So sometimes that's even harder because you think like, okay, where is my life headed? Look at the last 6 months, nothing changed. Well, most likely the next 6 months it's going to be the same. And if you go, even further, like look at the last 5 years, right? If you're unhappy, you hate your job, something like that. If you don't change anything, the next 5 years are going to be the same. And the answer isn't working harder at your job. The answer is sitting down for, I think it was Blaise Pascal who had this quote, it's like, all of man's problems could be solved by sitting alone in a dark room for 3 hours or something like that. Just sit in a room and like think on what's the most biggest issue in your life, grab a pen and paper and just figure it out. And, it isn't solved by putting in more hours at the job or whatever. Sometimes you have to think like, okay, I'm doing something incorrect. What needs to change? And that's sometimes way more painful than, working 12 hours or 2 jobs.
Yeah, it is so true. And sometimes I feel like I can just say it straight out because a big portion of our industry is living because of the fact that there are so many people who are not willing to put in that kind of work and also to expose themselves to the real experience of then putting what you thought about to test and enduring the consequences of your hypothesis. So I think that a lot of the value that I create or bring to the world or that we all get paid for in kind of this knowledge work industry that we do, it is just doing exactly that, taking the time to think for yourself, putting the hypothesis to test, sharing your findings, right, no matter what they look like. Do you think that AI is pushing us towards thinking more for ourselves or towards thinking less for ourselves?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Probably thinking less, and we can get into like dystopian scenarios there. So, I definitely think people should retain the ability to think for themselves. Do not just outsource all of your thinking to ChatGPT, because like the more you use it, the more you see the shortcomings, right? So for something it's great, for some things it's terrible. Like if you want, let's say, really unique and creative hooks for your ads, ChatGPT is not going to give you that, but it can definitely get you started. It can, give you ideas that you then improve, but it's not going to give you the final product. Like you have to realize that it's taking all the training data and giving you kind of the average, right? So if you want like mediocre Facebook ads, then sure, just use whatever ChatGPT gives you, but don't be surprised when you have, negative ROIs.
Yeah. I've seen this so much because I know when ChatGPT came out, like all copywriters were scared that they're out of work. And I have not had a profitable return on a single piece of copy that I only wrote with ChatGPT. There is nothing that goes out that is only written by ChatGPT because it is not, although it is so capable, it just can't capture an emotion or the essence of a sentence. It just can't hold it. And I think it's because it just genuinely like lacks the empathy of what that feels like. And so I think there's actually a huge opportunity because now there's more but worse copy out there, and people that actually take the time to, not only input something and then use whatever comes back, but having that back and forth and just using it to kind of get the best out of themselves. I think those are the people that really see still great success with their offers and with their content versus the people that are just, pushing the button and getting stuff out. It is very interchangeable and it's worth less than ever. Like in the beginning, it was worth more because first there were early adopters, but now it's kind of a complete devaluation of everything you can generate quickly. I personally feel.
Yeah, I have 3 ideas. So experts, what you pointed out is correct. It's like experts are safe. So in any industry, when you are like in the top 5% or top 1%, you're safe basically because the data you have isn't in the training data. So you have knowledge beyond ChatGPT. And I would say you are definitely in the 1% of Facebook ads or offer creation and stuff like that. So you know more what will work than ChatGPT. But if you take somebody completely new off the street and compare them to ChatGPT can probably write better copy than, the average guy on the street. So that's one thing. Then second thing is that people don't realize that they have way more context than they think. So we go through our life seeing, endless hours of visual tokens, then we audio tokens, and then text, right? So you have thought about your product and your community and your offers for tens of thousands of hours, right? So you have things that you don't even realize that are subconscious in your brain, but when you write a copy, they kind of come out. And then, it's kind of confusing seeing the ChatGPT not get it, but it's because you have so much more context that's not even in the conscious part of your brain. You just have stored in the back, and you naturally know, this wouldn't work with my community. But you don't know how to describe that to ChatGPT, right? So, I mean, that's one thing. And then definitely what's also the issue is that the current architecture of LLMs or large language models is not perfect. It's basically auto-regressive, meaning it's only predicting the next token. So if your prompt is bad, which is the starting message you send it, the rest of the output will be bad. And it cannot generate something unique because it's only predicting the most likely token based on the training data, which in this case is basically the entire internet.
This is so good. I think especially you're spot on with all the micro things we kind of know because we pick them up in between the lines of interaction with other humans and how we experience them. I think that's probably where the difference is. And this is also probably why somebody who is a good copywriter for their own offers, even if they write excellent copy for someone else's offer, it often doesn't click as well with the audience, right? I mean, obviously, there are people who do this for a living, but I argue that you'll never be able to write better copy for anything else than your own offers because there's just a different level of connection and deeper knowing. That's really good to know. I think one challenge, like what you said about this, is that I love the idea that ChatGPT can get everyone to get started and to do something, right? So the progress part is so important. At the same time, I think, especially because everybody wants to monetize the personal growth journey online, I think that also because of ChatGPT, we talked about this, right? The gap is so much bigger, and the people that are good, they're so much better than the beginner, and they're learning so much faster that I find it, I almost feel like that the later you get in, the more you kind of lag behind. Is there anything that, we could do for a beginner, or anything that you would recommend to people that are just starting out to kind of get ahead faster?
So specifically in terms of AI?
Specifically in terms of AI, but also online business, because I mean, that's also big part of what you do.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna split it. So for AI, I would say everybody should just spend 2 hours on the weekend. Pick one day, maybe Sunday or whatever, and just spend 2 hours learning about it and trying one AI tool. So split it 1 hour just learning different videos, podcasts, stuff like that, and 1 hour trying a new AI tool. If you do that every week, in a half a year, you will be definitely above average for sure. In terms of business, I would say even more reps, right? So most people, I would say, probably start with a full-time job, right? So definitely keep your job because you can use that income to test, Facebook ads and stuff like that. So what you need to do is basically put in hours consistently. And obviously you can decide the number of hours based on how fast you want to see success. I mean, that's basically it. So if you are really I need to make this work, just put in 8 hours after your job, 8 hours job, 8 hours business, 8 hours sleep, right? You have to sacrifice, friends, maybe sometime with family. But if you really are running out of money and you need to make it work, that's what needs to be done. If you don't have so much urgency, just do 4 hours or 3 hours. But I think the important part is to do it every single day, even on the weekend, because at the start, you just so much ignorance that you don't even know how bad you are. You just need to put in the reps and don't even think. I think there's become dumb and basically act like you were completely stupid and just follow what you know, do the obvious, basically. The obvious actions, do them every day. Commit to 3 hours a day or whatever, and over time that compounds.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about kind of this concept of OPM, other people money? What do you think about of moving into jobs, into paid positions where you get exposed to working with AI and kind of skill acquisition during those hours where you actually work for someone? Because I feel like there's so much, this space is so new that basically everybody's an expert quickly because the tools haven't been around for a very long time, right? And you could relatively quickly at least get to a level that's probably beyond what your average boss will be able to do with the tools.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't even call myself expert because I know there's people infinitely better than me. I think it's just getting into it. Like that's the biggest friction, right? At the start of either business or AI, anything. It's just like so intimidating at the start. And like you doing the first few steps and getting started, that's almost half the battle.
Is there a beginner video on your channel where people could kind of dip their toes in and just get a little bit of an idea and feel like, okay, it is not that far away?
I mean, yeah, I have videos like specifically ChatGPT for beginners. Like right now, my content is more towards AI agents, but I do mix it up. Like some of the videos are more advanced, including programming, but a lot of them are, using no-code tools. For example, right after this podcast, I'm uploading a video that's using VoiceFlow, which is a super nice UI that lets you build AI agents without doing any programming. So there are tools like that for sure. So I think it's just like starting with the basics, right? Because a lot of people, they want to get to the cutting edge, but they're not even using ChatGPT. They don't even have the paid version of Perplexity. Like those are the basics, right? Just like, don't try to skip steps.
Ouch,
it's like,
I felt that. I'm going to sign up for Perplexity after the interview.
yeah, but I mean, still like there are people even way below your level, right? Where they're like thinking like AI is going to replace all jobs. Like calm down. Like you haven't even written 10 prompts. Like you don't even know what you're talking about, right? So it's so fun. I think people discuss like how these AI models are dangerous, but they have zero intuition how they work. They don't even know what a neural net is. They couldn't explain the basics of machine learning. It's like, humble yourself and just go to the gym, do a few push-ups, lift the empty bench press bar. Don't try to bench press 400 pounds. Like, start with the basics.
What do you think? Will AI take jobs? Like, how will this play out?
I mean, yeah, it certainly will take some jobs, but again, we will create other ones. I mean, I would say like when we're discussing things like this, it's like before a super intelligence and after, right? We can discuss before super intelligence, but we cannot really discuss after because nobody knows. Like once we have super intelligent AI that is self-improving at a speed like billion times faster than we can even observe, like all bets are off basically. No one knows what will happen after that. So before then, yeah, I mean, obviously some jobs will be replaced, but then again, like some new jobs will be created. I think the best way to think about it is in terms of tasks. It's not like AI will just like click and like, boom, these 5 jobs are gone. It's more about taking simple tasks out of jobs. So you have to think about like how automatable your job is. And again, this is what, thinking and reflection comes in. And I like to compare it like, yes, it is painful, but it's better to take that little bit of discomfort now than a huge, suffering 4 years from now when your job is obsolete and you have no skills, you got fired and you're just completely banned. So it's take a few hours, think about your career, your life, where it's headed and whether it's aligned with AI and how that is improving. And yeah, I mean, like some jobs will just be replaced, but some new jobs will be created. It's same with every technological revolution. So like you have to think about like how many tasks in my job are, creative, nuanced, require specific thinking, and how many of them could be done with ChatGPT. Because a lot of people, it's kind of funny because people fear about being replaced by AI, but a lot of jobs could be even replaced by a simple sign. Like when you go to airports, there's literally a guy like this way, that way. That's not even AI. That's a simple sign. You put a sign there and the guy is out of a job. So there are so many jobs that could just be replaced with, a sign or a simple system or even a few lines of code. Like AI is almost like a, privilege, your job is being replaced by AI. But to answer your question is really like looking at the tasks. So every job has different tasks, looking at all of the tasks in your job and which are at risk of being replaced and which aren't. If most of your job is, those simple tasks that could be easily automated, then you should probably worry and you should probably start upskilling yourself. But if it's only like 10 to 20%, then yeah, you're going to automate those and you can spend more time on the higher leverage stuff.
Okay, so, but the call is basically always the same. It's like, develop yourself, grow as a person, work on your skill set, work on familiarizing yourself with the tools. Just because I also don't think, nobody will come and kind of do it for you because the things advance so quickly. There will, when there's like a formal kind of education, till things are passed they will be outdated so quickly. I remember when I studied marketing, online marketing was slowly becoming a thing and we had like one course on it in the whole semester. And it was like what was taught in the university was already like what things we did 2-3 years ago, which, online is kind of ages. So I believe that with AI, it will be even quicker because the things that were true 2 or 3 months ago, they already are, obsolete or overworked. So I think that's a really good call. Do you think superintelligence is inevitable, or do you think that it is happening or not happening? So,
yeah, I mean, I have this fundamental belief, which I think is correct, that technology always keeps on improving, and as long as that is true, I don't see any proof of that not being true. If you look at the entire human history, it's just, better and better technology. So the fire, invention of the wheel, invention of houses, boats, and just like compounds on top of each other, right? So as long as technology keeps improving, I think it's inevitable. Now, obviously, when that happens, nobody knows. There's people predicting it's happening in 5 months. There's people predicting it's happening next year. There's also people predicting it's happening in 30 years. So like it could be either or, it could be somewhere in between. Nobody really knows. But I think you brought up something really good, is that people have to realize that it's not going to be like the government do it for you, or your company do it for you, or the education system, stuff like that. So many people just hope they elect a certain president and then all of their problems are gone. It's like that's not how it works, right? So I think what I realized is that recently the term educated, if you go back 50 years, is basically educated, uneducated. It's college, right? Whether you went to college. Now I would say it's different. I think the term educated versus uneducated is paying attention to the larger trends that are happening, whether that is AI, whether that is Bitcoin, whether that is societal decline, whether that is inflation. Like there are so many of these trends that will shape the world that so many people don't care. Like if you ask the average person on the street what is the inflation of the dollar, they're gonna say like, I don't know, 2%, but it's like 14. Like nobody knows, nobody pays attention. So I think the new uneducated is people who are not paying to these things that are actually going to shape the future.
Mm-hmm. Really, really good point. When, super intelligent is inevitable and you're working really hard towards your goals right now, how do you kind of manage your mindset around this? Because I'm just witnessing you, right? I know you're putting in your reps and you're really showing up, you're grinding hard. At the same time, you are at the forefront of not, knowing that we don't have a predictable time horizon for how things will play out. So how do you keep yourself in a maybe positive, or at least like in this mindset of how you want to show up, how you want to hold yourself, how you want to educate yourself, how you want to form your own opinions, especially with so many opinions around? I just love to know how you kind of keeping things clean and clear and, moving forward so positively up there.
Yeah, so I guess let's like confront the worst case scenario. Like if it was inevitable that AI is going to destroy everything, then is there any point in like worrying about it? Like let's say today, scientists found out that there is an asteroid coming to Earth that's going to hit in 17 years exactly. And there is no way to revert it. It's as big as the planet or whatever. So like, what's the best way? Like, is the best way to panic and just jump out the window? No, the best way is to like, okay, this future is uncertain. We probably will not make it. Let's make the most out of it, right? And gonna get that extra urgency. And there's no point like being sad or like crying all day. Like, why? Like if that is really inevitable, it's just gonna happen. Same way if like you're on a falling plane, right? Like I don't get that mindset. Like when I'm on a plane and there's like bad turbulence, I'm like completely calm. Like obviously I'm like I feel it, but I'm not like, oh my god, it's over. It's like if it's over, it's over. And if it's not over, it's not over. So like there is no way, if you're gonna die, there's no way, no benefit of like wasting your time being in a state of agony or depression, right? And then the second thing is like how to prepare. Well, obviously, learning, using the tools, doing much as possible. But I would say just like focusing on the things that will matter even after we have like AGI. So there's going to be a period between AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. Basically, that's AI that's better than the average human, right? There's going to be a period of years, maybe even a decade or longer, between AGI and ASI, which is a super intelligence, right? So in that time zone, there's going to be things that matter much more. So, for example, connections. If you are showing up, people who can do this in the community right now. If you are one of the people that are contributing often, helping others, being selfless, always showing up on time, being consistent, reliable, doing what you say you're going to do, people are going to help you out. So even if you're behind on AI, you don't know anything, you've never used ChatGPT, if you have these connections, if you have the social network, people are going to gladly help you and take you to the cutting edge, right? Another thing is that I think health will matter way more. So what people don't realize is that there is very high likelihood we will live much longer, whether that is 150 years, 200 years, or even longer, who knows? But like, all of the health, I think once, money and all of that is done by AI and there isn't really a way for us to compete in terms of who has higher income, we will compete on who has better health. So obviously Brian Johnson is way ahead of this, kind of slowing down the speed of aging, but this is just like simply quality of life. So people think like, oh my God, I don't want to live forever, right? Well, slow it down, right? Let's take it simple. If you could live for 400 years in perfect health, as you had in your 20s, would you do that? I think 99% of people would say yes. So I think realizing that there is a high possibility that we will live much, much longer than 80 years because AI will solve a lot of diseases and cure a lot of illnesses. just treating your health seriously is really solid. Making sure you don't destroy your brain. Like I think I stopped boxing because it's very like the brain is the only the only organ that's impossible to transplant, and we don't know how to regenerate it, right? So any brain injury is like super dangerous. Definitely wear your helmet and stuff like that, and just like preparing in every aspect of your life. It's really, there is no like one answer. You just like think into the future. What will matter once AI has automated all the jobs and all the manual tasks and stuff like that? What will matter? So it's going to be your connections, your family, your social skills are going to matter much more, and all of those things that today are probably underrated.
Super, super good and really helpful insight. I heard a few things between the lines that I just want to highlight. So the first thing is that I heard between the lines is there is, in your opinion, something inevitable coming, and you're spending your time in the best way possible, which seems like the work that you do, you enjoy it to a point where you say, this is the best use of my time. Am I correct in this assumption?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I still could be doing much better. It's not like I'm, working 18-hour days, just super focused. Like I still have unoptimized work days and like still waste time. So in that aspect,
but it seems like you love what you do from that perspective. It's like there's so many ways that you could, with this kind of doom perspective, or kind of whatever comes is inevitable. There's so many ways that you could spend your time right now, right? You could also be doom scrolling or doom spending, I think is a thing. And I mean, in your age, right? So there's, I think, many other ways in which you could spend your time right now. So I think it's an interesting choice that you make.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to answer it. Like, I don't think it's like kind of love what I do. It's basically like, I don't know, it's just like, I know this is the best thing for me to do, so I just do it. There's no like, waking up like, I love my job or whatever. Like, I don't have that, but I also don't have the negative. It's not like, oh my God, I hate my life, oh, this is terrible. I'm like kind of, in a neutral, stable line. So I would say this is kind of a blessing. Maybe in some ways it's a curse. I don't know, but I like, having consistent mood. I don't have like mood swings or anything like that. So yeah, to me, it's more like, I think it's going to get me the future I want, and just taking the actions to get there. It's not like, love or hate or like, this is hard, this is easy, stuff like that.
How do you get to that mindset? Like, how do you, for somebody who hasn't found this yet for themselves, like, how do you go about finding that?
I mean, I don't know, honestly, I don't know. Just probably, like, what's the alternative, right? Like, nobody, like, if you think about it, people like, oh, when I do the polls on YouTube, like, what do you want to do with AI? Some people just say, I don't want to work anymore. Like, okay, but then look at what you do. Like, you watch the TV. Like, is that really aspiring way? Like, I would much rather work all day than watch the TV all day. Like, okay, you take like scrolling like YouTube shorts, right? It can be fun for the first hour. Let's say if you work like multiple days in a row, then yeah, maybe the first hour is fun. The second hour is kind of okay. The third hour, like, it starts to be miserable. Fourth hour, you just want to delete your phone, like, throw it in the trash can. So it's like, what, like, people feeling like, oh, I don't want to work. Like, okay, but what are you going to do? Are you going to work out all day? Are you going to, because people are like, oh my God, I'm going to trips with friends. Yeah, but that happens like twice a month. So, like, that's not a real answer, right? So there's so much time in the day. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure, you can work, but like, you can relax. So I don't know, like, I don't think there's a better alternative to like not doing the work. And I don't see myself like working on the weekends as anything. I don't even realize the weekend. Like, for me, every day is the same. And I just, I don't have like any negative feelings toward it. It's just like, when I waste time, I just feel way miserable. Just like, that's the simple answer.
That's a cool answer. Have you ever worked like at a regular job?
Not really. I mean, when I was 16, I was like, it's called, like, there's a word specific for it in Czech. I guess the best translation would be like a part-time job or like a summer job. So I had that for like 2 weeks, but realistically it was like 10 or 9 days. And that was literally like the exact opposite. So like, it was a construction, literally destroying walls with a jackhammer, lawn mowing, carrying like super heavy tables with 4 other people, demolition of old buildings and old furniture, literally like full-on manual labor, right? And the pay was like $3 an hour, or like $3.50. So I mean, people in America don't even know. But yeah, but what I realized is that there is no future. So during that time is actually when I first started taking my Instagram marketing business, or like growing people's pages, seriously, because I saw like, wow, there's no future. Like, even the boss there was kind of promising a raise by 10 Czech crowns, which is like $0.50 per hour. So I was like, even if I get this raise, like, nothing is happening. And I was like, I guess, intelligent enough or whatever to extrapolate that to a future job. So it wasn't like, oh, this is only this one job. Surely my, full-time job will be better. No, it was like, okay, this is actually not gonna get me anywhere. Like I'm making $3.50 an hour, even if I get it to 4, even if I get it to 5, even if I get it to 15, like doesn't really matter. It's still like so limited by my time. So I was like, I need to do something else. And then when I did the Instagram marketing, I took it so seriously in that time. I was literally DMing people in America. I had an Instagram account without a profile picture, just some sketchy name, like Instagram marketing, whatever, super sketchy name, like few hundred followers by marketing my profile. I was DMing people in America as a Czech kid with like not perfect English, and Instagram DMs, completely anonymous account, and selling them in the DMs. Like people are thinking like, oh, making money online is hard. No, you just need to put in the reps. You can literally DM random people on Instagram, have them not only have them send you money, but then have them give you their password. I needed their Instagram password to market an account. So a random account convinced them to send money overseas to random PayPal, and then I needed their password to get into their account. Most of them obviously use the same password everywhere. So if I had ill intentions, I could probably log into their bank account or their emails or whatever. So like this is how people don't realize you can make money literally doing anything. You just need to put in the work.
That's crazy. I can't believe that this worked, but it seems like that was a numbers game as well. So cool beginnings. Really, do you think that would still work today, by the way?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So it's just human nature and just reaching out enough, and eventually if you knock on enough doors, one will open.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to improve. Like, obviously, my profile got better. I grew the followers to like maybe 2,000 or whatever. I improved my sales script, so it was like I didn't start selling right away. I said like, hey, how was your Tuesday or whatever, right? And it was like kind of starting the conversation. So I improved definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible to sell in Instagram DMs. Many people in the school games have won by selling in Instagram DMs.
I know. I think that's so crazy. That's the last thing. Like I think that's why I got so good at ads, because I was like, I want to avoid this so badly.
Yeah.
That it eventually clicked. So that's the past. And the future, where's your vision for your channel, for your community? What will the rest of the year look like, and maybe your next year?
Yeah, so in terms of business goals, I definitely want to build the biggest AI channel in the world. My channel is the main thing. So my channel is above my community, because without my channel, my community wouldn't exist. So other people like probably treat it the other way, but I treat it as my channel because just the amount of connections and opportunities that will come my way, even if I don't make as much money, which I'm probably not going to make if I was fully focused on the community, it's fine with me, because I realized that's going to be more valuable in the future for me. In terms of like personal goals for the next year, I want to get that diamond emoji in school. What they added yesterday or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely want to get that. I probably will move to Dubai, because right now I'm still living in like,
Okay.
not that popular part of Czech Republic. But even like Prague, like I thought about Prague as being this big city, but then I went to Vegas. And when I said this, like, to Andrew Kirby and other people, it's like, I want to move to Prague. It's like, Prague, it's like on the global scale, it's like completely irrelevant, even though it's like 1.2 million people, right? So like it's kind of crazy, because Vegas has only like 600,000, but there's so much more things happening. So much of the future is being built there. So it's almost the same idea as I have with AI. I need to put into a physical world. So I need to be in a physical realm when there's things happening. And there's like a crazy statistic that like 2/3 of the GDP growth over the next 20 years will happen in only, I think, 20 cities or something like that. So like there's only like few mega cities in the world, obviously, like Dubai, LA, New York, Vegas, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur. Everybody knows the cities, but the future is happening in them. So I figured out the digital part of like being in the right industry, but I've completely level 0 in the physical realm, where I'm still like going to Vegas was super eye-opening for me, because I saw like, wow, the future really is being built. Like when I was there, Elon finished the boring company tunnel underneath it. There was like skyscrapers and crazy stuff. It's like, yeah, I probably need to upgrade. So I'm gonna probably move to Dubai. That's most likely the city on top of my list. And I mean, in terms of my business, just grow community, build a team. I definitely want to build a team. So I recently hired my first full-time employee, which is huge. That's like already a game changer, even though it's been like 4 days. So I want to definitely build out the team more, probably get to like 5-10 full-time people, and also optimize my real life. So that includes like a maid, a chef, or whatever. Just like not do the low leverage stuff. I think you had that experience yourself, right? So I want to definitely do that, so I don't spend my time on the stuff that doesn't make any money.
That's really, really interesting. And I think it's interesting that you'll hire a team. And how will you equip them with AI? Do you have any vision for that already?
I mean, I'm probably going to hire most of them from my AI community. So it's already going to be people who are using AI and watched all of my modules and courses and trainings. So it's not like I'm going to have to teach them from scratch. And ideally, they know more than me. So obviously, that's the goal, to hire people who are smarter than you. But yeah, I mean, if somebody isn't using ChatGPT, I'm no problem buying ChatGPT Teams. I mean, you can do this with your team if you want. You can pay for the ChatGPT Teams plan and just give it to everybody, right? So there's things that like business owners can do for their employees. I think it's maybe saying like, one thing I've heard is that communicating to your team like, guys, AI will replace a lot of jobs, but I'm not gonna fire anybody. Like, I'm committing to this. None of you will get fired because of AI. But you have to make sure that you're using it, you're learning it, and you're on the cutting edge. Because if we are not doing this, other companies, other teams will destroy us. So, just having that clear expectations, like, I'm not firing anybody because of AI, but you have to learn it. You have to use it.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I think that, again, when we talk about market shifts and opportunities arising, I think that there's also for educators and experts, there will also be a space of where companies of all sizes that don't have this expertise will have somebody coming in training the team for them.
Yeah, definitely.
So cool. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else, like at the end, that you can give as an advice to the person that wants to grow as a person, have a personal growth journey and monetize it?
Personal development. I mean, yeah, that's really have been started everything for me. I guess, like, I don't know. It's obviously all in the actions, but then again, it's much easier to do actions if you have the correct mindset. So I would probably say be very mindful of your environment. And that doesn't mean just like the place you live. It's more about the people where they are, right? So like an extreme example is like if somebody's super obese and they live in a house with other obese people, well, there's most likely going to be snacks, nobody's exercising. It's very hard to get in shape. So the best thing for that person to do isn't to get a gym membership or to buy a bunch of healthy meals. The best thing to do for that person is to move into a house with 4 super fit people, and working out will become almost effortless. And you can apply this to anything, business, AI, or anything. So if you have people in your life that are telling you it's impossible to start an online business, why even try? Like, it's hard. So many people fail. You have to get out of there. You have to move across the country, move to a completely different city and start over. I mean, so many people have done that. A change of an environment is so powerful. So I would say, like, most people are being held back by their physical environment, lack of opportunity, but also the people in their life. So sometimes you have to make the hard choice and just, completely change everything and start from scratch.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's a very interesting advice. I also feel like since I discovered school, also my world kind of opened up a lot.
Yeah.
Although I had community before, right? I feel like, especially in the games, it's people at a different level of experience, or a lot of people at a different level of experience, and it just kind of opens you up for seeing the opportunity and being motivated. And just by being in this environment, naturally your behavior changes almost subconsciously as well.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have real life friends. It can be online friends as well. So like that's why school is so powerful. You can meet people that you otherwise would not meet. And I've already met so many wonderful people through school. It's just amazing. Like, for $99 a month, it's honestly a no-brainer.
I agree. Thank you so much. I will definitely link your channel and I will link your community so people can check it out. I think it's very interesting for a lot of our students as well to get their head wrapped around. And I think your free content is so valuable. Like, they will be mind blown and take away so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Evelyn.